going to be my 50-hour review video on the Beta. Just turning 50. I bought the bike at the very end of February 29th. So I've had the bike for 6 months now. So what I wanted to cover today, first of all, as you can see, it's an in-ride video, not in my garage. You can see it going through the trails with me and the type of stuff that I ride for you to compare to talk about likes, dislikes, the modifications I've made, how it stacks up to the other bikes in our riding group. Our guys have a few 24s in the group. Also a couple of older 22s in the group. So I have other videos on my initial impressions, my first ride, first single track ride. I have the 20-hour review. I'm going to try not to be too repetitive. I'm going to start with a little background. What I was going for with the Beta is I was coming off of a 2022 KTM 300 XCW, which I loved. I wanted something different. I didn't just want to get the next iteration of XCW. I heard good things about the Betas. So, first of all, something different. And one of the things that was challenging about the XCW is you came to the limits on the suspension right away. The suspension stock had no hold up. TPI, a lot of people complained about on the XCW, but I never really had a problem with it. So that was my starting point. So I looked at new bikes and decided on this race edition. Thing about this bike was it was carbureted, so that was completely different. It was a cross-country oriented bike, and I really liked to ride the faster flow trails. Suspension was KYB, so those were some things that I liked about it at first, aside from looks and aesthetics. So here we are 6 months later. The other thing I liked was the price point. So the bike was less expensive than the XCW was. So I thought when I bought the bike that I could make some of the necessary mods and still be within the range of the stock XCW price. I'll come back to those points in a minute. Let's start with maintenance and repairs. We'll save modifications for now. So maintenance and repairs have been probably like any other bike that I've owned. I tend to over-maintain my bikes. The oil on this two-stroke, the gear oil, is getting changed about every 10 hours. I put 2 sets of spark plugs in it. We'll come back to that. Still running the stock chain at 50 hours. Still wearing okay. This is a lot of the riding that I do. There's some flow trails here that we ride a little faster. A lot of technical single track. So maintenance, just regular maintenance. Let's talk about modifications. My God, it's been a journey with this bike. I've changed it back and forth so many times. My riding buddies make fun of me over it because I'm always doing something different to get it to be my own. John had the beta hater video out there on our channel. So a lot of changes and a lot of undone changes. So first of all, the typical protection parts on this beta. Bulletproof designs, radiator guards. The plastic around the radiators seems soft, and that certainly gives it front impact protection. Love them. I took a hard hit to a tree, and they were the thing that saved the radiators. Typical rotor guards, rear is bulletproof designs. Front is a plastic, the Kirby's radiator or rotor guard. Cycra hand guards. That's a toss-up for me. The Cycra on this bike. I like the Enduro Engineering ones as well. Cycra looks maybe a little better, but as far as protection, either one does their thing. As I just banged a tree. That's, I think, protection parts. We ride a lot of rocks. The rotor guards are a must. They show, all those parts I just mentioned show some wear, but they all have plenty of life in them. Plastics. So this is also a comparison element. Sorry guys, you might not like to hear this. The plastics are not KTM quality plastics. They're soft around the shrouds. Front fender is stout. That one's probably similar to KTM. Rear fender a little softer. So on plastics in 6 months, I've replaced some parts. Actually, I bought a full set, a full replacement set, and some factory edition decals, or race edition decals. I bought the Kirby's shrouds when Beta was having a hard time keeping the plastics and decals in stock. They're nice, but they're on this bike right now, and they've held up pretty well. So that's stock replacement parts. I did put some different brake pads on the back. EBC is getting a lot of squealing on the rear rotor. So those are EBC brake shoes. on the rear. Jetting. Changing different temperatures or elevation, you're going to have to mess around with jetting. So you're going to need some parts. Main, maybe a pilot, experiment with some different needles. So that's been part of the journey on this bike. Oh yeah! It's a 2024 T300 in front of me. Oh, skip. It's a 2022 300 in front of me. Josh. Okay, so jetting requires a little patience. After 15 hours on this bike, oh, both plugs. I mentioned this in another video. Bob both plugs. Chalked it up to jetting maybe being a little rich, but all things considered now, it's happened once before, and I don't think it was the jetting. I think it's the resistors and the plugs, because a couple of other people had similar issues. The second, this current set is the OEM plug, which I'm continuing to use, but the spare set in my bag is another comparable plug in the same heat range that's not iridium. Going on mods now. So when I filed those plugs, I thought, wonder if I should just go back to a single plug head, and thought it would be fun to try. So I put an RK Tech head on it. And it changed all the dynamics of the bike. Some in a good way and some in a not so good way for this type of riding. And my skill level, put it that way. Made the bike more aggressive. Higher compression, which it was supposed to do that. It's not the head's fault, it's a great head. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I have a video, a couple videos on this. So I ran it for a while. I experimented, but what I found is it allowed the wheel to break traction a little more, and also took away something I really liked about the bike, and that's what I just demonstrated right there. So the head changed the performance of the bike. It took away a little bit of the low end that I love so much about this bike. It made third and fourth gear the primary gears, and it was stellar in the power department, but a little too much for the single track. Okay. So I reverted back to the stock head after some time and deliberation. I kept that head. I might go back to it at some point because it was fun. Especially on straightaway. Whoa! Some gear that almost came out in front of me. A little buck that would have impaled me. So the head returned back to the stock 2-plug head. We'll chalk up that mod to trying to make the bike something that it wasn't. Worst line choice. Longest, deepest rut. notice what this bike is doing in the rock sections. It's pretty nice, and it'll be my next point. So let's talk about my favorite mod. Most favorite, most expensive, best value. Uh-oh. JB's down. Did
you see that?
Oh yeah.
That's called not committing.
As we pause for John to pick up the pieces. Turkey. Boy, we're seeing the Mountain Ridge wildlife here today. So sorry for the suspense. It's the suspension. What I thought I was getting with this bike was a suspension equivalent to Yamaha's KYB. It's not. And what it is Yamaha, I think, has some proprietary stuff in their KYB because they've done development with KYB. So you're limited there. And also, the race edition has stiff suspension out of the box. Even after braking, it's too stiff for single track. It's more of a GNCC or XC style suspension. And in fairness to Beta, that's what they intended. As a cross-country bike, the suspension felt better the harder you rode it. As a single track bike, it beat the hell out of you in more technical trails where a little bit slower pace was required. Maybe if you're a pro or an A rider, that's not the case. I'm not. So what they say about the race edition suspension is true. Here's the good news. You can fix that. I sent the suspension out on this bike. I found a tuner who I really liked. I won't say a whole lot of detail about it because I already have a video on this, but did a wonderful job on this Beta suspension. With the suspension the way that it is, first of all, it's phenomenal. If I didn't mention that. Secondly, within a couple of clicks or a few clicks in either direction, you can ride anything that you want, at least with the tune that he gave me. He put, again, I don't want to be too repetitive because I have a video on this, but he added a floating mid-valve on the forks and made a bunch of other changes. You can watch my video on that if you'd like. So, best bang for your buck modification, and you can see the rocks I'm going through right now. It's pretty damn good. It'll do the fast stuff like an XC, it'll do the slow stuff pretty close to an XCW. So other modifications, minor ones. You can see the Enduro Engineering start-stop buttons. Just got rid of the multi-function housing. Also, that gets rid of the horn, the turn signal assembly. There's a true north headlight switch that helps to allow me to turn off and on the headlights. Great mod, both of those. Simplistic. I didn't like riding all the time with the headlight on. And I won't say a company's name if I don't like their stuff. And obviously we're not sponsored. We buy our own stuff. We buy good stuff and bad stuff and make mistakes like everyone else does. Whiskey throttle.
Always slippery as shit right here.
What the hell did I do there? I was talking away as I was going down. It is a little wet today and I did slip, but that's rider error, not bike error. We've been riding here, it's been so dry. A word about enduro engineering. When they first sent me these switches, they were reversed. Green was stop and red was go. So they had new switches out to me in 2 days. I got them. So it's nice when you are working with a great company that stands by their products. Say the same about Bulletproof, RK Tech, my suspension tuner. They've all been fantastic to work with and have provided great follow-up support. The bike as I'm riding it today, stock head with 2 plugs, of course. Oh, I didn't mention, I changed the gearing. I went from a 14 down to a 13 countershaft after I changed the head out. That gave me some of the power that the low power out of the corners that I was looking at for in the head. Just that change. So great change if you're riding woods and single track. If you're racing on cross country or GNCC, I don't know, but for the counter riding we're doing here, absolutely good change, great change. Okay, one other change I forgot. I shortened the bars a little bit for this kind of riding. So I took about 3/8 off of each side. It does make a big difference. I did, after I took the head off, I had experimented with a Lectron carburetor. So I bought a Lectron, rode with it a little bit, and within the 30-day tryout period I sent it back. I'm sure the Lectron is a good carb for many people. I'm sure it has a lot of merits over and above a stock key and carbureted bike. But for me, again, I like the characteristics of the carb on this bike. I like the low end. And I even bought a Lectron Pro. I didn't find that I could tune it to have that same low end torque or punch as carburation. So I sent that carb back. Thank you, Lectron, for letting me try it. And I put a bought a JD jetting kit. And currently running what JD recommends, including their red needle. Basically, it's everything else. It's pretty stock, a little leaner main. But the needle's the big change. It is proprietary. So that's where the bike is right now. It runs great. I'm seeing some temperature variation, not really elevation, but mostly temperature, and it's all good. It'll get a test at 3,000 feet when we go to Hatfield in October, but I expect it to run really well. So that's it. Those are the mods. I'm going to wrap it up with this. One thing I learned about this bike, you know, I thought it was a cheaper option. I didn't buy it for that reason, but I thought it was a cheaper option than the KTM XCW. All things considered, changes I've made, suspension modifications, this bike isn't cheaper, right? It's probably even more expensive than the XCW. You could ride that 24 XCW out of the box with the suspension, you know, just with springs for your weight. You're going to get a great feel. Considering what I know now, I've ridden all the bikes. I've ridden the 24 bikes. I've ridden the Sherco. I've ridden a 250. 250 Husky. Ridden the 300 Husky. Ridden modified 2022 KTMs. So all things considered, the KTM XCW is a great bike. If all my friends didn't have KTMs or KTM derivatives, that would have been my choice. If I hadn't come off of an XCW, that would have been my choice. But I chose this because I wanted to try it. I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to be different than my buddies' bikes. I wanted to compare, and I was intrigued by Beta. So all those were good reasons why I bought this bike and why I still like it. So, all things said, I probably still would buy this bike over, but I know for this riding, KTM XCW is tough to beat, and tough to beat out of the box. You know, this bike is modified. John Scott or not. Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Beta power. I love the low end. I love the slow wheelie on this bike. It picks the front end right up. It doesn't disappoint me. It doesn't disappoint me on the hills. If I need to stop and get started, it's very, very easy to do. So those are the things that I love about the bike. So I'm going to keep evaluating the long-term reliability and durability of the bike. You can see I'm not embarrassed or ashamed of throwing my bike on the ground every now and then, involuntarily. And, for the most part, it's holding up. You can see all of our videos on crashes and shorts and stuff. It's doing what it needs to do. So for now, I'll say thumbs up to the Beta. Could be a good choice for you. Try not to overcomplicate it. Appreciate the bike for what it is. Don't try to make it something it's not. Regarding our channel, I just want to thank everybody for watching. You guys particularly enjoy my Beta videos. You watch a lot of hours of them and a lot of views, so thank you for that. I know Beta fans or Beta owners, Beta lovers, they're passionate about their brand. So I want to represent it well. Even when I'm comparing to KTM, I want to represent it fairly. Our goal with our channel is we're halfway to monetization. We're over 500 subscribers now. We're gaining, and we have a very simple goal for our entire group. We have about 12 guys in the group, and we're just looking to buy beer money and an occasional replacement part that we break in the making of these videos. Like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. comment about your experience with the beta. I know a lot of you already do. Any mods that you want to share? I know the Suzuki NECJ needle and the other Suzuki needles are something the guys use. So give me your feedback. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Hope to see you on the trail someday. Let's go!